other one that I come across quite often, we got it as a question here, but I get this question quite frequently as well, sent through to me, and that is, why don't given the costs, because we charge an arm and a leg by financial advisors and by product houses, why don't I just, if I've got a provident fund, so just to clarify, currently until March 2021, you can take your provident fund as a full lump sum. You don't have to annuitize it. You don't have to buy a living annuity or a life annuity. So why don't I just take this 5 million rand pool, extract it and manage it myself? Tracy, you look like you're just bitten lemon. I'm going to let you know.
So we actually saw a user like this. They had quite a fair sum of money. You know, it wasn't just like R1 million, and they were actually really concerned about what's happening in markets, what's happening in the country, and they actually withdrew the full amount. They paid a lot of tax, because when you withdraw it, if you're not at retirement age yet and you withdraw it, the tax is quite extreme, and you also lose some of your tax benefits later when you retire. And then they proceeded to put this in cash, which was about is earning 3.5%, and it's just not sustainable. So yes, you've got the comfort now, but what's going to happen later down the line when you run out, or you're used half of it within a few years and you really can't sustain yourself on what's left?
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe anyone would want to hand over that amount of tax. And I think it's also important, we can maybe cover this later, but if you do convert into a living annuity, you can, if you're terrified about the South African markets, you can actually put your living annuity, or you can invest in overseas assets, offshore assets. So yeah, I find it very strange that somebody want to give up that amount of tax personally. And just whilst we're on that topic, Tracy, most people have access obviously to that 500,000 Rand tax-free, you get to take 1/3 lump sum in your pension or RA, of which 500,000 is tax-free. So let's say we assume you're going to take the 500,000 Rand tax-free because it makes sense. How should you invest that?
Okay, so we look at that in a few ways. Generally we look at things like, do you still have debt you want to pay off? Have you got emergency savings, money set aside should something unexpected happen? Is there something specific you need for personal use? And generally we look at those, so try to pay off your debt if you haven't. For your emergency savings component, you ideally want sort of 3 to 6 months of your expenses. You can use your income as a proxy if you want, set aside, and that should ideally be in something like a money market fund, or enhanced money market. So basically earning better rates, slightly better rates than if you left it in the bank, because you want that money to be quickly accessible. And then if you've got this extra money left, which, is just going to sit there for a really long time, it's not for any particular use, or you're going to draw a small amount out of it to supplement your income and your annuity, which is insufficient, then ideally you want to be in what we call a balanced fund, a high equity fund, which is about 70% in growth assets, because you're still a long-term investor, unless you're going to be using it in the next 2 or 3 years. And there you also want roughly about 30% international exposure, which helps diversify the returns. And so that's more or less, yeah. But again, if they're going to use it in 2 years for a big holiday, then that's not advisable.